Psycho, directed by Alfred Hitchcock, has pioneered the genre of horror movies and the techniques used to create them. Psycho went against industry standards at its time to pave the way for a new genre and directing methods for films that followed. In terms of industry standards, Psycho pushed many boundaries for its time, including appearance of actors within the film. For example, Jeanette Lee's depiction in just her bra for a 1960s audience, a daring, explosive sight, women were simply not shown in mainstream cinema in such a state of undress. Contrasting with the 1960s and our modern day cinema, where it has become acceptable to film not only a woman in her bra, but a woman in the nude, we can only come to question how the public reacted during its time. A common assumption would have been that it garnered a more negative connotation from its general audience, but rather it was the opposite. While some early reviews of Psycho were positive, praising Lee and Perkins' performance in particular, many were not, and it was only with the film's remarkable box office success that critics were forced to rethink their initial dismissal of what they had assumed was a pedestrian genre film. Yet Hitchcock continued pushing boundaries in terms of what could be filmed on camera, like the close-up shot of a toilet bowl. When comparing our standards to the 1960s, this can seem like a no-brainer in terms of what could be filmed. Even so, this was the first time a blockbuster contained a shot with this material. While the already established horror genre, whose name originates from the emotional responses it produces, would be given a new format in which something could be created. This definition encapsulates what Psycho as a film was trying to create for its audience, but not in the way you think. Unlike the horror movies that we are familiar with today, Psycho relied instead on skillful montage and soundtrack to build its tension. In comparison to Hitchcock's works, this horror becomes more natural in terms of what is depicted. Within the setting of Psycho, the people feel like our everyday average Joe. While they are in more of an exaggerated circumstance, these are events that could truly happen to anyone. That, I find, is the true horror of Psycho, not the murder or the murderer, but rather how ordinary and similar to our lives it is like. What's even more shocking is the killing off of our supposed main character within the middle of the movie. This further exemplifies my point of natural horror. In typical films, a murder would occur at the end of the film, leading to a smaller following action. But because of the placement of the death of the main character, we are truly able to engross ourselves in what happens after a murder occurs. The director in Psycho pioneered the method in which we show and don't tell within the film. We never actually see any of Jeanette Lee's private parts. Rather, due to the framing of the shower scene, we are able to get a general understanding that she is in the nude. The same can be implied in terms of getting stabbed. Her body is never shown being stabbed directly into. Rather, because of framing, we understand that she is stabbed by a knife. Looking further into the direction, we can examine the Psycho trailer. Structured like a guided tour of locations where horrible events took place, we are able to get an understanding of the tone and genre of the film without ever seeing a single shot from the film. In one specific instance, upon entering a room, he begins describing decorations until we focus in on a painting that he states,
"This picture has great significance because..."
As a viewer, we are left to wonder, why is this important, leading us to want to watch the film? After the success of Psycho, there were many other artists that tried to recreate its magic in forms of sequels or their own new original concepts. Even so, if we reshot the film where everything would have been the same shots, angles, dialogue, and nonetheless, on account of the very sameness, we would all the more powerfully experience that we are dealing with a totally different film. You will never be able to create something that is exactly like its source material, even if you do a one-to-one recreation. Rather, as up-and-coming filmmakers, we can study techniques employed by famous directors such as Hitchcock to build upon our films so we can hopefully one day make a shower scene as impactful as Psycho.